Hey everybody, J Average Vintage Collector here with another video. So today, doing a VR for Dan over at Dan's Vintage Cards PC, or Vintage PC Cards. Sorry Dan, kind of butchered that. Celebrating his 3rd year on YouTube. And he asked us to choose a card that kind of describes us, like that just represents us in a nutshell of how we collect. And I really waited to do this video because I was really trying to figure out which card in my collection. There wasn't one that kind of jumped out. But then I figured, it was right there in front of me the whole time, and I did figure it out. So to kind of show what I was kind of going through, I could have very easily picked this card right here, right? Moberg. I collect World War II veterans. This is like that top card. This was a lifetime goal card for me. It's probably one of the most high-end cards in my collection. But is this really me? Does this represent me? I don't know. I don't think so. I didn't want to pick the card that was, maybe one of the most expensive cards in the collection or anything along those lines. That's not me. That's not how I collect. This was a special thing. I don't buy cards like that all the time. So no, that doesn't really represent me. So then I moved on and I said, well, what's another card that could possibly represent me? And again, I kind of went to this one, Warren Spahn, low grade card, right? World War II veteran, great looking card, Battle of the Bulge veteran, from Buffalo. But does this really represent me? And in the end, no, this doesn't really represent me either. And then I said, well, you know what? I think I do have it. I think I know I have it. So this card I picked up at a card show, and I picked it up raw. And this is one of the only cards I've ever sent in to be graded. And that was this. This was my first Mickey Mantle. It's a 1964 Mickey Mantle. It's in rough shape, right? It has a marking on the back, which does not bother me at all, right there. Someone updated his home run total. And I sent it in. It came back at a 1.5. And, this is not a beauty of a card by any means. So this is, I think, closer to who I am as a collector because I'm not worried about, well, is it centered? How do the corners look? I wanted a Mickey Mantle in my collection, and I never thought I could have one, and I found this one, and I'm so glad to have this in my collection. It's one of my only Mickey Mantles in my collection. But again, I kind of said, is this really me? And this is close, but this isn't me. And then the card that I finally settled on, and it's going to be surprising because I could have picked a Boog Powell. I think that's probably what a lot of people would probably expect, but I didn't. This card was a card that drew me in to vintage cards, period. It made me decide to go after my first vintage set. This is a card that I've known about for a long time, and just the image behind it, I absolutely love it. And knew I wanted to get this card, one of the first cards ever to add to my vintage collection. And this probably was within the first 10 or 11, 12 cards of picking up in my collection. And that is the 1973 Roberto Clemente. Does this represent me? 100%. Because I wanted to add this card. It's raw. I'm not a big graded guy. Even though I showed 3 graded cards before that, that's not really me. That doesn't really represent me. It doesn't matter to me if a card is graded or not graded. It doesn't matter to me if it's a perfect, image, or if there's maybe some snow on there, or there's a crease, or the corners aren't right, or it's off center. This card to me is perfect. I want it in my collection, and it was at the right price. And this is not an expensive card by any means, but even $20 can be expensive at times, right? This was a card that I wanted. The back really doesn't matter too much to me either, but this is a card I want. When I add something to my collection, I have a list of cards. I find the card, and I usually sort by what's, the lowest price, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the flaws. And I've said before, a vintage card should look like a vintage card. A 70-year-old card, or an 80-year-old card, or a 40, 50-year-old card should have it should look like a vintage card to me. That's my idea. I call them high character. They've passed through the hands of so many people before us. Kids growing up in that time period tacked them up on walls, put them in their bike spokes. And, I don't want a card that's crumbled up by any means, but if it's got some character, kind of like this Mickey Mantle, right, where it's just way off center and it's got those rounded corners, that's a perfect card to me. So this 1973 Roberto Clemente, again, probably not the card that most of you would have picked for me. This is the card I think that represents me the best and how I collect and what I collect. So, Dan, congratulations on 3 years. Thank you for the giveaway, very generous giveaway. And I'm looking forward to, the continuous excellent content that you put out week after week, especially the historical stuff. So, thank you so much. Jay Average Vintage Collector, just an average guy showing some average cards.